Today's video is on frozen bubble photography, and I had mentioned on social media that I would do this tutorial, and so I'm finally getting around to it. So just kind of what you want to watch for is you want to have the right temperature outside. It needs to be cold enough where the bubble will freeze, and you can't have wind, so very, very little wind, because it will blow the bubble and it will burst. You need to have the right equipment. I made my own bubble solution. It's not your typical just store-bought solution because it has a few ingredients in there that will help to stabilize the bubble. And I have a straw, and then I have my tripod, my camera. This is a Nikon D850, and then I have my macro lens. You don't have to use a macro lens. Like with certain kinds of photography, like snowflake photography, you have to have a macro lens. But with the freezing bubbles, if I used my other lenses, in some cases I'd have to get really far back. A macro lens allows you to get right up close to your subject. In this case, the subject is frozen bubbles. I could get even closer if I wanted to, but I'm kind of on a ledge and I've just stabilized the tripod, and so this will be good. And so what you want to watch for is you want to make sure your bubble solution is nice and cold. I also have a little glass bowl. You could use the bottom, invert it like a coffee mug or whatever, but you want a little surface that's smooth. If your snow is real hard and has frozen crystals in it and it has edges or whatever, it's going to pop your bubble. So this seems to work really well. And what I do is I try to disguise the fact that it's there, because I want it to look as natural as possible. Not that you would find bubbles freezing in nature, but I just want the look to be not distracting. And so basically now this provides a surface for me to blow the bubbles on. And when you're doing photography with frozen bubbles, you want to blow one bubble and then capture focus using your camera. And then if you want to do the video, you get the focus, lock the focus. You always shoot manual focus, and you lock the focus in, then you switch it to video. And typically I like to shoot with an f/16, which just simply means that you close down your aperture so that more of the photo comes into play or is in focus. With macro lenses, the nature of them is that it's a very razor thin depth of field. You don't get much of the background. So we want as much of the bubble as in focus as possible. So that's why I'm using f/16, and you can use the lowest ISO possible depending on the lighting conditions. You want to position yourself facing the sun. Right now the sun's not out, but I have some video footage of me shooting from this morning in the sunrise and some photos of that. And so you face the sun. You don't ever point your camera right at the sun. So I'm pointing my camera at the bubble, but the sun is lighting up the background, and it just provides a beautiful effect. You really can't see the ice crystals growing in the bubble without having it backlit. And so you want to make sure you're facing the sun. I've seen people use like flashlights and that sort of thing, and I think that works well too, but ideally you're going to be facing the sun, focusing on the area that your bubble is going to form, and then switching it to video mode, and you'll see at the end of this tutorial what that accomplishes and what that looks like. So when you're blowing the bubbles, and I'm sorry, I wish I was had a better angle at the camera, but I wanted to get close enough to this. The first several are going to pop, and you're just kind of preparing the surface there with some solution. you got to make sure that this isn't outside too long. It will freeze, and then you won't be able to blow any bubbles. But you blow on the surface and then lift the straw out, and I can kind of show you that. This is real normal. So I lifted the straw out. It had enough liquid on there, and you want to capture focus. So the first one, you want to use your camera and get the focus, because you'll be able to have those ice crystals that you're focusing on. And then once you lock focus, then you can switch it to camera mode. And the effect is just beautiful. You know, I'm always amazed at God's creation and the way He built these things into His design, and I never get tired of it. I love what I do, and hopefully you'll enjoy this. So thanks for joining me. I'll be back in a little bit with Ezra. Okay, Ezra and I are going out to blow some frozen bubbles, aren't we, Ez? Okay, now look right here. Get down and look at the, do you see them growing? Isn't that cool? Do you like that, Ez? Yeah. Look at Grandma. Good.
Whoa, you just cracked it.
Yeah.
It was stinking.
Watch it. Watch the ice crystals grow, honey. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Okay, watch it. Watch the crystals. Watch. Can you see them? Or do you have to get a little lower?
Yeah, I can see them.
If you go lower, you'll be able to see them better. That's really cool. You like that? Look at. Isn't that cool?